All right, guys. Saturday. As you can see, I got the car further back. Um, Getting ready to put the engine back with the transmission. Have to figure out exactly how I'm going to do all that. But I dropped off my dog at the vet for his 6-month checkup, so I'm waiting to pick him up so that I can get started with work after that, because I hate stopping in the middle. So either way, all I plan on doing this weekend is pretty much just mating the engine, mating the trans, and getting it in. There's plenty of time left in the weekend. It's only like noon. So you can see I've satined my polished center lines. I want to go back to these because the wheels that are on the olds are going to go on the Pontiac. And so I did it two different ways. I did that one with TSP, or a substitute. Obviously, it's phosphate free. That's what made TSP TSP. And this one I just did with a dry scuff pad. Now they do look very similar, but with the dry scuff pad, I ended up with a couple more scratch marks than I wanted. And you got to be really careful because the red scuff pads, I took a couple of used ones from work because if you use fresh ones, they really scratch up the aluminum. So you want something, or you want to wear it down by beating it up on something, scuffing a piece of metal until it really softens up. So you can tell this one's a little shinier, but it's cleaner. This one's a little duller, but it has more of that burnished look. Kind of on the fence on which one I want to go with, to be honest with you. But I really like this one, but then I really like this one too. Fucking choices, man. So either way, these rivets are all going to go gold, like a cadmium coating, like usually you'd see on like your brake boosters. I think that'll really make them stand out a little bit. I love center lines, but I've always wanted a set of Krieger Super Tricks, and they're getting expensive. They're scarce. Bogarts does repop them, but they're very expensive. So this is kind of my way of making these wheels exactly what I wanted them. I just tossed them on the car because they came polished. I got a good deal on them, and they were always that way. So that's what polished aluminum looks after you hit it with a red scuff pad. And again, you have to be careful. You have to maintain your scuff pattern consistent so it looks like, a machined finish, like, it was on a turning table or a mill, or, well, not necessarily a mill, but maybe like a lathe, or I know in bigger industrial settings, usually you use like a VTL, a vertical turning table, for a lot of maybe like random things like that. I don't know exactly the way wheels are actually machined, but I assume that they use like a lathe, But you can see this is nice. They're both actually on this angle. You can really tell the difference. And that's with the red scuff pad and the TSP. The big plus to that is that it leaves a lot less scratch marks. This one I had to really work to keep it consistent, since the TSP also acts like a lubricant. It doesn't cut as aggressively, it cuts smoother. And it's the same thing when you use those scuff pads to prep for paint. You use a little bit of water and soap to prep your surface, and it'll leave it really smooth. Versus a dry scuff pad, it'll leave it real raw and gritty. It's the same grit, just a different, approach. And again, yeah, both same red scuff pad, TSP, no TSP, just dry. I'm leaning towards this one because it's got more of a natural look. This one looks a little too dull, like almost like it's been media blasted. But so far I'm experimenting for the right look, and this seems so minuscule, right? But to me it really matters. It's the little details like that really matter to me. A lot of people have center lines. I want mine to kind of be a little different. The satin ones naturally are darker, and that's the hardest part, is getting this aluminum to darken up, because I want it to be just a little darker. It's also why I was using the TSP. I was reading somewhere that it will darken aluminum, but I think it darkens up aluminum when you wipe it down and stuff, and it was like on a Harley thing, and those guys go ape shit if they don't have chrome and polished aluminum. So I'm gonna let you guys go, and I'll update it once we're moving things around here. Okay, so I figured this is actually a pretty good topic. Cleaning up aluminum wheels. There's many ways to do it. Guys have their own ways to polish them. There's many different procedures. I want like a natural satin finish. Now you see this centerline wheel is in the raw. This is a satin finished wheel, and you can tell it's actually a little bit shinier than like these in a way. It's just brighter. I ended up finishing these two. In the earlier video, I had one that was done one way, one that was done the other. I settled on the technique I'm going to show you guys. So essentially, all I'm using in this is this TSP substitute. It doesn't have the phosphate in it. I just spray down the wheel, and then we use a red scuff pad. In this case, this is a Merca. These are about roughly 320 grit. If you have a local paint supplier, sometimes they sell these individually for like $1.50. And you just lightly scuff it, but you got to be careful because this is grit. So if you just start going like this, you're gonna end up with a bunch of scratches that you don't want. The goal here is to have a natural, like machined finish. If you look at this wheel closely, despite the fact that I sprayed it, you can see little lines from when they machined it. I'll show you better on this wheel. You can see little lines from the tooling. And obviously on these wheels, you really can't see them anymore because these were polished. So when they were polished, a lot of that definition went away. And we're going to do away with some of that with this. But you want to maintain it consistent. You can see these wheels look pretty good. You don't see any streaks or anything. So you have to keep it consistent. And I like a satin finish on aluminum wheels. I'm not a big fan of polished wheels. The only reason mine were polished was because I got them that way. And I never really researched it. I just tossed them on there thinking maybe like one hard summer of driving and not cleaning them and everything would be fine enough to make them dull, but they look like absolute shit. I posted pictures up on my Instagram of what one looked like before, and one was polished, but it was just aged really bad. And you could see this wheel was pretty dirty, but I'm just constantly maintaining. Now I do have my fingers in between here and here and here, so I'm kind of covering all of the inside corners with my fingers so that I can keep a consistent shape and finish. And I'm really happy with how they turned out. I kind of want a natural weathered look versus like the Krager Super Tricks. I really like. I mentioned probably in the other video, but yeah, you can see how good that looks now. But you can tell there's a definite difference in the finish, even though it's clean between this surface and this surface. This ends up a little darker, which I want that like natural dark aluminum color. Aluminum becomes really bright when you start sanding it. I pretty much grew up in a shop that did media blasting. Whenever you blast aluminum, I mean, it looks bright. I wish I had something here that was blasted, but the intake on the engine I just put together for a friend of mine that we're going to sell, it's like a bright white finish, and it's almost impossible through media blasting to get these to dull up. You have to do it like what I'm doing. So just a nice little video on this. I'll follow, I'll get on the other shit later, but I'm kind of killing time. I'm waiting to get the call from the vet to pick up my dog. So I figure perfect opportunity to clean up these wheels as I'm getting ready to put these on the Cutlass. And these are different from my rear ones. My 15 by 10s are up there. Those are going to get cleaned up as well and dulled up and make them nice to have a nice matching full set either on the street or at the track. These are 15 by 8s with 5 inches of back spacing. So it's got a nice dish, a little bit of a flatter look, not as deep, which I actually really kind of like for the street. At the strip, I like the deep dish wheels because it's a necessity. I'm running like the widest wheel I can run in the back of that, which is a 15 by 10 with 5.5 inches of back spacing. And I run a 28, 10.5 by 15 slick. So I'm going to keep at it, and I'll do a little follow-up when all of these are done. I love these wheels. They're simple, but they kind of make a statement, and it's been a look that has been popular forever. I think ever since they started making them, this one design probably sold the most. So I'll let you guys go.